Do you remember the old days in Disneyland? The days when you could take a picture in front of Mickey and the entrance, even with your whole family. The days when you could leisurely walk in, take a nice stroll through Main Street as you headed towards the castle. Do you remember these days? The days when you could head towards Frontierland, casually walking, not feeling the need to run because the parks weren't that busy and you knew that no matter what attraction you headed towards, you probably had some time. The days when you could stroll through some of the shops in Frontierland, and that was still one of the best ways to head towards the other side of the park, whether you wanted to go towards Big Thunder Mountain Railroad or you wanted to go towards the New Orleans corridor. What about the days when you could easily head to the Breakfast Chimichanga line, that little cart that's right across from Big Thunder Mountain, and there was still no line if you were there early in the morning? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I probably don't have to tell you this, but those days are gone. Rise of the Resistance has landed at Batuu West, and with it, unprecedented morning crowds are the new normal at the Disneyland Resort. But despite all of that, there are still ways to beat the lines, beat the crowds, and get a boarding pass in style. And that is what we are talking about in today's video from the Disney itinerary. All right, you guys, getting a boarding group is not hard, but it does require some strategy. You've got to get your entire group to the parks, get parked, through security, and scanned in all before a park open at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. at the Disneyland Resort. Furthermore, I'm hearing that getting parked can take you anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes on the busiest days, even as early as 6 a.m. And the security lines at those parking lots are just as long. So here's my first tip. If you can, don't drive to Disneyland. Take an Uber from your hotel or from some destination near the parks and have it drop you off at the Disneyland Resort. This is a wonderful tip because a lot of people don't seem to know about this and don't seem to do it, but the Disneyland hotels all have their own security entrances that are almost empty. So now you've turned off before you're stuck in a lot of that parking line, and then also your security lines, which were just as long from what I'm hearing, are also going to be gone. I have done this twice now where I've had my Uber drop me off at the Disneyland Hotel, and both times I breezed right through security and we ran into no traffic getting over to the Disneyland Hotel. So I don't think very many people know about this tip, and certainly they are not taking advantage of it. And as you can see, it's a straight shot through the Disneyland Hotel. Once you get in, you'll walk straight through to the other side. You'll come out near the pool. You're going to make a left, follow that pathway, and then you will start to see the beginning of Downtown Disney, where they have their own parking structure. That's also over there, but then you'll see where the security lines are. And as you can see, these security lines are almost nothing. And this is from my most recent trip where I did this same tip, and I still ran into no line. So like I said, people just do not know about this tip being dropped off at one of the hotels. All right, so the walk through Downtown Disney will likely take you about 10 minutes. And from what I've been seeing around World of Disney and also La Brea Bakery, that can actually be where the lines start to form. What I recommend is ignore those lines and keep going more towards, a little bit closer towards the entrance, more towards the middle. Be careful because if it's a early Magic Morning day, some of those lines are for Disneyland Resort guests only. But once you kind of get to the middle, just pick a line, get to the end of it. They're all probably going to be either close to or all the way at DCA. These lines are about 20 to 25 minute lines. And then once you are inside, you're going to be scanned in and you're good to go. Once you are inside, the countdown is on, and I recommend you take this time to do a couple of things. Number one, stake out your spot for you and your group somewhere where you guys can comfortably stand. And then what I recommend is, if you have time, force quit the app. And then open back up, make sure you are signed in. A great way to check to make sure you're signed in is to try to get a fast pass. Remember, once you were scanned in, you were able to start requesting a fast pass. And then from there, you can also try to mobile order something. So if you don't have a fast pass, try to mobile order something. That's a great way to tell if you are all the way signed in, just so that way you don't have any trouble. Then from there, about 5 minutes before 8 o'clock, I recommend having someone go to time.gov in your party. If it's just you, if you've got a couple of people, have one person be the person that is counting down. And I recommend someone is at time.gov. Then 5 seconds before park open, you're going to actually go in and open up the Disneyland app. And once it hits the park open time, you're going to hit My Status and then join a boarding group. And voila, you've done it. You've probably scored a boarding group. You've probably scored a low boarding group. And now all that's left is for you to keep an eye on boarding groups. When yours is actually called, you will get a notification on your phone. Everyone in your group will get a notification letting you know what your window is to come and ride Rise of the Resistance. Okay, so now you know the basics of how to get a boarding group for Rise of the Resistance at Disneyland. But now let's talk about how to get a boarding group and actually have a pleasant morning and enjoy the experience. My ultimate tip, you guys, is scan into Disneyland and then exit back out. Now, I'm not the first person to mention this, but a lot of people are saying just hang out in the regular area outside of the ticket booth. What I don't like about this recommendation is then you may find a situation where you've got to get back in those lines and they really are awful. So what I would say is exit Disneyland, head over to DCA, those of you who have the flexibility to do so based on your ticket type, and actually get your boarding group over at DCA. I think this is one of the best ways to get a boarding group for Rise. It's not very busy over there, therefore you're not competing with very much cell service if that's something that you were worried about. Head over to DCA. I actually got mine from this really pleasant little park bench area that I'm showing here. I was the only person sitting there. There was no one else around me. It was completely empty, and it was just night and day from what it was like over at Disneyland. So if you can, scan into Disneyland, maybe grab a fast pass just to check to make sure everything went through okay, and then head right back out of Disneyland, head over to DCA, which probably has little to no line. And voila, before you know it, you will have your boarding group and it will be your time to go and ride Rise of the Resistance at Disneyland. So let's do a quick recap of my top tips to beat the lines and the crowds while you get your boarding pass for Rise of the Resistance. Number 1, have a rideshare take you to the parks. Number 2, enter security through downtown Disney. Number 3, when you get towards the lines, walk towards the middle lines. Number 4, scan into Disneyland and then leave. Number 5, use time.gov to count down to park open. And number 6, 5 seconds before park open the Disneyland app, hit My Status at the actual park open time, and then immediately hit join a boarding group. Good luck. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, everyone, I am an authorized Disney travel agent, and I would love to chat with you about your upcoming Disney Parks vacation. Also, I do have an Etsy shop where you can purchase planning templates. I just put this one up for the 2020 Disneyland Food and Wine. I've also got Disney World planning templates there that you can take advantage of, and a couple of full day itineraries. So please don't hesitate to get in touch. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe. Leave a comment below and tell me if you are trying to get on Rise, what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you. I would love to hear any of your tips and tricks also. That's it for today, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day.